Voices for Equality, part of 11 Alive's year-round Voices for Equality series.
Welcome to the special edition of 11 Alive's Voices for Equality series. I'm Ron Jones. At 11 Alive, we are dedicated to serving all of Atlanta's rich and diverse communities. And as a veteran myself, I understand that what starts in the military builds a foundation for the future. So for the next 30 minutes, we're going to celebrate those who served our country proudly. And one of those groups that don't get enough attention, female veterans. Women are now officially the fastest growing group of those who have served. By 2040, they're going to account for nearly 20% of all veterans. That's according to the U.S. Department of Labor. 11 Alive's Joe Ripley shows us how representation in the armed forces matters, especially for women of color.
And we'll work out and everything. I do uniform checks for gunnies. I teach the classes sometimes.
Carsey Betts makes sure every boot's in place, every uniform spick and span. The Newton High senior has a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure overseeing 120 cadets as the commanding officer of the Marine Corps JROTC.
I'm going to face a lot of challenges being a minority. I'm African American. I'm a female. It's a lot. People are intimidated by that.
According to the U.S. Department of Labor, there are 2 million women veterans, about 10% of the overall veteran population, and women account for the fastest growing group of veterans.
They say it's made of metal.
For retired Sergeant Major Deborah Spencer, getting ahead in her career meant conquering a different type of battle.
We were competing with men, and we had to be better. We had to be more disciplined. We had to outrun them, out-push up, out-sit up.
Spencer stuck it out through several instances of sexism and racism in her 25-year career in the Army, earning promotions and medals as she protected the land she loves.
She actually said to me, "You don't deserve this position because you're black." What a gut punch.
Spencer took that punch and kept going. It's that hard work, discipline, and resiliency, overcoming obstacles that serve as inspiration for Carsey Betts.
My bearing has to be good. I can't let nobody throw me off my game because people are going to say things, people are going to talk, but I can't let that affect me. I got to be accountable. I got to move on. I got to stay motivated to get to where I want to be.
Motivation in spite of the pressure and responsibility to serve with pride and leave an example and lasting legacy for those who come behind.
It's not just wearing the uniform, it's the responsibility that you earn when you put the uniform on, the confidence you get when you're wearing the uniform.
The largest group of living veterans served during the Vietnam War era, and many who spent that time fighting during the Cold War. The transition into civilian life and navigating PTSD was a journey into new territory. 11 Alive's Joe Ripley explains what that's been like for one Vietnam veteran learning to fight a different kind of battle.
Charles Wyatt,
October 26, 1959.
remembers the day he enlisted in the U.S. Army. On a whim, conflict far from his mind. After a spell in Germany,
I had 3 tours of Vietnam, and I flew in helicopters. I wasn't a pilot. I was a door gunner, mechanic, and a crew chief.
he worked on UH-1D helicopters in the jungles of Vietnam, flying combat missions, earning medals, and losing friends by the dozen.
I had never got shot at, personally, that I can recall, and I heard it zing. So I told the pilot, I said, "Sir, we just got shot at." He said, "It happens every day."
So, once it was time to retire in May of 1987, First Sergeant Charles Wyatt, worried about the past, wondered about his future.
A lot of guys don't talk about it. It's something that bothers them, us. We just keep it solid. I didn't start opening it up until I went to see a psychiatrist. I have post-traumatic stress like most of the GIs.
Wyatt got help, and through the organization AMVETS, the Oakland transplant is able to offer help to others in the Atlanta area struggling to make connections and cope with PTSD.
The brotherhood is real good, so somebody's got to call these guys and talk with them and let them know that we're thinking about them.
Wyatt will often get his fellow veterans' birthday cards to show he cares. He'll also visit high schools, sharing his story about a whim turned into a why as he thinks about what if.
what would have happened to me if I wouldn't have got into the military? I said, I could have joined the Panthers, or I could have got into a gang.
Instead, this veteran is making headlines for his decades of military service.
The state of Georgia is home to 97,000 veteran-owned businesses. Tens of thousands of other veterans contribute to the workforce each and every day. 11 Alive Joe Ripley reports on a brand new program at Emory University that is specially tailored for the life in business after service.
It was shortly after 9/11. Everybody had that feeling of wanting to do something.
Brandon Cook longed for a sense of connection, so his sense of duty led him to the Army.
The brother and sisterhood that you have, and so being a part of that team was really, really important to me.
After the lieutenant colonel's career of commanding and combat tours, then came the transition back to civilian life.
So yeah, the feeling of kind of starting over, it's a humbling experience, but just understanding that, hey, everything's going to take time and everything in its own time.
That sense of connection tied him to Emory University, where he got a business degree.
Was flown over a military base in Afghanistan.
And met more fellow veterans along the way.
I commanded the Ranger Regiment.
Retired Lieutenant General Ken Keene's pictures only tell part of his 38-year military career. His bond with veterans is a matter of business.
Businesses need veterans, and veterans need businesses.
Keene developed the Master's in Business for Veterans degree at Emory, inspired by the only other such program in the country, 2,200 miles away at Southern Cal.
It fills a great need and a gap, I think, in graduate school business knowledge, and this program fits a gap.
The program condenses a typical MBA program in half the time. It focuses on translating military values to the business world, like leadership, selfless service, a task-based approach, collaboration and communication, and time management.
Being able to connect the talent that's in the military and giving them kind of that little boost when they get out to really help them connect their talent with the funding that they need to really go chase their dreams. I mean, I think it's a small way of paying it back and giving them that opportunity.
An opportunity Brandon Cook says is formed by connection, developed with diversity, and fueled by a mission.
Not prejudging anybody for where they come from, how they were raised, because once you get put in the same place, you realize how similar everybody is in terms of what they want out of life and the mission that they want to contribute to.
Applications for the Masters in Business for Veterans program launched in July. The program is looking for veterans to start in May of 2024. So for more information, just head to our website, 11alive.com. Coming up next, a program with purpose. We're going to take a deeper dive into a plan to help veterans with PTSD find their footing again. Returning to civilian life can be a huge adjustment, so that's why service dogs often step in to help veterans make that transition. But now a nonprofit organization in Gwinnett County that has equipped hundreds of veterans with service animals over the last decade needs help to make sure their critical work continues. 11 Alive's Brittany Kleinpeter takes us inside the facility to show us what's at stake.
This place saved my life, and not just mine, many other veterans.
This is not an obstacle course. This is a confidence building course.
For many of us,
Free belly rubs.
all we need is a little bit of confidence,
Smart.
consistency, and companionship.
He's my partner. We hang out all the time.
To know that everything is going to be okay.
Connection will draw you away from a lot of mental health battles. You're gonna make a good service dog.
And for many veterans,
Look how attentive he is.
like Antonio Merriweather,
So when I came here, I was suffering PTSD, depression, anxiety, addiction. It was about as bad as I could get.
a canine can offer that life-saving connection.
But not to say that therapy doesn't work, it does. Not to say that medicines don't work, they can. But this was the piece of the puzzle that was missing.
So the one with the ball in the mouth is Bubbles?
And that's why
Bubbles.
Blake Top Dog Rashad dedicated his career to helping veterans find that.
I suffered from anxiety and depression all my life. I always realized that I was a lot more calmer when I was around a dog.
He went on to open Top Dog Canine Foundation in 2011, dedicated to providing veterans with service animals. But recently, a lack of funding from donors has slowed him down.
So we have these veterans waiting on our list, eagerly waiting and wanting these dogs, and financially we can't provide the training to the dogs to give to them. And that's frustrating.
Where you running to?
And he's now faced with the unimaginable, giving these dogs away.
Knows how to get all the pets.
And while Rashad sees what he's up against, it's only an obstacle. And he has confidence the community will step up consistently to keep his mission on course.
Take a stronger step towards helping veterans, other than saying thank you for your service. We love for you to say that, but it takes a lot more to support us than a thank you.
It's not just canines who help veterans navigate through the waters of civilian life. There's also relief under the water. 11 Alive's Caitlin Ross, who shows us this unique way a former service member is making a difference for those who are struggling with their mental health and PTSD.
A sea of memories surrounds the soldiers gearing up on assignment.
You do have to focus on what you're doing.
Veteran Michael Brown listening in on a brief for what they're about to brave.
The quietness you get. You're able to get rid of all the noise.
Bravery looks different when you're looking in.
You get inside your own head, it's like, I don't like how I feel on the surface. And a lot of people I find feel that way, but the moment you crack the waves, you break the seal and you're underneath, it's a different world. Because now you can see, now your eyes are open.
Larry Wilson had already seen a whole lot when he founded Deep Blue Dive Therapy. A combat veteran and former police officer, he was barely treading water.
Swimming on the surface, I think there was a little trepidation because you don't know what's down there.
Years after returning home from combat, he was scared to dive into the PTSD diagnosis that changed how he thought of himself.
It's kind of hard to one day be on top of the world and then you needing help. Like it's a weird thing. I fell into that.
To pull himself out, he had to go in.
Once you get underneath, like literally, I feel like they think I'm just a big ugly fish, and they don't care.
The water washing away the rigid demands of who they're supposed to be.
You become part of the world around you, and you don't have all the noise and all the things that are just distracting and stressful and all of that, and you have to be in the moment.
Jason Bush runs the Salute to Veterans program at the Georgia Aquarium and says he sees the impact these dives have on former service members. Many of the divers have lost friends in arms to suicide.
Much like those of us that struggle with the invisible wounds of war, it's much like leaving all of that on the surface and not being bound by the things that you struggle with every day, and the anxiety, the PTSD, the depression.
The American Institute of Stress is studying the benefits of scuba diving for PTSD, how it creates a connection to something deeper than themselves.
Pushing yourself to try to find better ways to help yourself and saying, you know what, there is a problem, and getting deeper.
Helping with a new mission to heal.
Straight ahead, a new calling in life after a close call in Afghanistan. Welcome back to Voices for Equality. You know, for those of us who have already served, there is often a call to be part of something bigger. But after discharge, those same military skills are still sticking around. 11 Alive's Joe Ripley explains why sometimes the call comes more than once.
Help is just one call away.
Hi, it's the Russell Police Department.
Stephanie Litvin answered the call to work here
in our 911 center
2 years ago.
Answering emergency and non-emergency calls, dispatching police, fire, medical to various calls. Oh yeah, we don't say that word in here, the Q word.
How many people are involved?
Her motivation, the thrill of a different day every day, and a calling to help save lives and livelihoods.
How to report like a fraud report, or giving those CPR instructions to try to help a loved one, or just getting medical help out to people's loved ones.
Originally from Pennsylvania, Litvin moved back to Georgia to be closer to her parents during the pandemic, and before that, she had another calling and a close call in Afghanistan.
For the other platoon in my company, 3 of them weren't so lucky. Unfortunately, they were killed by IED.
A freshly touched up tattoo tells one part of the story.
It's their boots, rifles, and their helmets.
Her headset tells another. She wears a different uniform with the same calling, to help.
Even when there's not so great outcomes, I know I did everything to the best of my ability to try to get that person help. For the future now, it's going to be continuing to help others, and I enjoy doing that.
While Litvin says the E911 center here in Roswell can take up to 300 calls a day, she's only one 911 call away.
An act of kindness saves 2 lives. How this sentiment of service carries on long after enlistment. That's next. The spirit of giving is deeply ingrained in military service. That's a lesson one war veteran learned because long after his time was up, he needed help.
This is the sound of Corell Driscoll's second shot at life.
Yeah, I was so happy.
One made possible thanks to his brother's significant other, Stephanie Soto.
I was really happy. I was excited to give him life again.
I owe my life to her.
Back in 2016, the war veteran's kidneys stopped working. He went to the Atlanta VA Medical Center for treatment and for years was on dialysis for 12 hours a night.
It was zapping my energy. I felt like I couldn't function. I went from about 200 pounds down to 120 pounds.
He was able to get on Emory Hospital's transplant list.
My opportunity for a transplant would have taken another 4 or 5 years.
That time was cut to about a year thanks to Soto.
The gratification of giving a family more time with someone that they truly, truly love, it really made me feel great.
Driscoll's life changed February 2022 with his new kidney. And just 5 months later, Soto's life changed too.
I was like, you actually saved my life too. They do a full body scan on you when they found a mass.
Scans post-surgery showed Soto had 6 precancerous masses on her right breast and multiple on the left, so she decided to get a double mastectomy.
I want to live. I don't want to worry. It's hard, but I'm really, really grateful that I donated, because if I wouldn't have donated, I wouldn't have found out. And who knows the state that this would have ended up in.
One surgery saving 2 lives.
It was a very, very challenging and rough recovery, but I have no regrets donating my kidney.
Stephanie was like a guardian angel.
Thanks so much for joining 11 Alive Voices for Equality Special, celebrating veterans in Georgia and all across our wonderful country. You can find these stories and others focused on former service members on 11alive.com/voices. I'm Ron Jones. Take care.